A question I return to over and over again as an artist is how to keep the balance between creating personal and commercial work. When you create art for other people to pay your bills, how do you find the time and the creative energy to still create art for yourself without burning out? If you don't know me, and you probably don't, hi, I'm Jana, a dark fantasy artist and book illustrator. I've been a freelance illustrator for 10 years now, and I like talking about the life and business of being a working artist. In my last video on this endless struggle of balancing personal and commercial art, I let go of the idea that I need to create personal artwork at all to be a real artist. You know, a real artist instead of a sellout fake artist. At the time, it was a relief to take the pressure off of creating more art for the sake of protecting my identity, really, to keep my artist medal, so to speak, when I was already so busy with client work. And yet, we don't just create personal artwork for the sake of making us feel like a real artist instead of a creative mercenary. Creating for ourselves can actually refill that precious creative well inside of us, instead of depleting it. During my freelance illustration workshop, I always talk about how making art your career changes your relationship to it. And that's not bad. It's just a thing that happens and has to happen, or you probably won't be able to make that career work. However, once it does, it can be hard to stop looking at your art through the lens of business, and for me, I feel that stands in the way of really creating. That and the bit where I'm an overthinker. If you too are also an overthinker, you might understand. If not, I hope you're scribbling away in your sketchbook right now, wondering what I'm babbling on about, when after all, it's so easy to just pick up a pencil and draw. If that's you, I'm a bit jealous because I've created this unconscious personal definition of what personal artwork means. I'm thinking of fully rendered portfolio-worthy artworks or a series of pieces that can be turned into a product like a book or a calendar. Yes, it's personal work, self-initiated work, but if I spend days on an artwork, it better still serve my career in one way or another, either by being good promotion or product, because deep down, just creating for myself for enjoyment alone doesn't feel like enough. There are two wolves, at least two, in every commercial artist. The artist and the business manager. And for me at least, the business wolf never shuts up anymore. And that's good. Having an active business wolf is a big reason why my career is working. But sometimes the business wolf forgets it's the artist wolf that is the foundation of it all and needs a little playtime once in a while. The other day my artist wolf actually got the upper hand and I spent an afternoon creating the piece you're currently watching me work on. It's a simple selfie painting combined with a vintage public domain botanical drawing. Nothing fancy, but it was a fun experiment to spend a few hours on. No purpose beyond trying something new and following my curiosity. No planning, no thumbnail sketches, no color studies, just starting to see what happens. Please note though, that the wolves negotiated that this playtime was only allowed in exchange for content. Creating this little experimental piece made me realize that I've been thinking about personal artwork all wrong lately. Yes, having new portfolio pieces is great, but at this point in my career, that's not what personal artwork is for. It's a simple question to ask yourself. What is the purpose of my personal art right now? My insecure artist wolf says real artists don't ever have to ask themselves this question because they just create. Yet, I like overthinking things, so I do. I need to dig through a bunch of mental barriers before I get to create freely. That's how it is. I already have a solid portfolio and I'm creating some great art for clients this year, so I don't need to create new portfolio pieces. Instead, my purpose for personal artwork is to keep the creativity alive. It's to follow sparks of curiosity and do away with all the rules. All the rules about making art that only exist because I've come up with them or picked them up somewhere along the way. They don't exist. They're not real. That won't necessarily result in polished, flashy pieces I can show off. It might happen quietly in a sketchbook or in an experimental piece like this. I might not land any new jobs with the results. Heck, nobody might even see it, but it will make me happier and more creative. It will also make my art more interesting. All of these aspects are important to maintain a sustainable art career, so it's actually good for business too. After all, my creativity is the main asset of my business, and the key to a long and sustainable career is to make sure the artist wolf is happy and creatively fulfilled. I mean, being happy and creatively fulfilled should need no further justification, but as I said, the business wolf never quite shuts up. Here's another fact the business wolf likes. Play leads to innovation. It's where the magic happens, so to speak. That's why even big corps like Google and the BBC give their employees time to work on their own projects or pursue further education during their work hours. And if it's good enough for them, it's certainly good enough for us artists. Here's the thing though, even the Googleites work on projects. Projects are big and tend to have an end goal. I want silly and fun and something that can be finished in a few hours, because there's no way I can simply allocate 20% of my work time to personal projects right now. That's not how my schedule or life work. I just stumble upon a free afternoon sometimes and need to be willing to grab it for some art making. Sure, I can start another big project and squirrel away time for it here and there, and in 5 years I might be done with it. But I don't want a big thing right now. I want this sweet, sweet dopamine of creating something new and exciting in a short amount of time. Actually, I think perhaps my definition of personal work is still too narrow as long as I reduce it to painting or drawing. If I write a novel, that's personal work. If I come up with a silly little song about suburban life nobody will ever hear, that's personal work. If I try a new cake recipe, change half the ingredients, and I'm surprised it doesn't work, that's also personal work actually. That's all creative, and it all matters because it shapes who I am as an artist and a person. It allows me to explore outside of the confines and pressure of my illustration job. That's where I figure out what's important to me and where I want to go in the future. It's where I truly find and establish my artistic voice. Anyhow, if you're like me and you need the occasional reminder that you're allowed to make art that isn't commercially viable or good for the business or for finding clients or whatever, let this be it. Take the time to let your artist wolf play. They're sure to find something interesting, and you'll have fun along the way. Thank you. If you want to catch up on my previous musings on personal art making, you can find that video here. I also paint a portrait with plants for that one. It's clearly a theme.